Hi, my name is Angelique, also known as The Light. Welcome to my channel. I apologize for the lighting. It's like maybe 6 o'clock in the morning and the sun is still down. Um, I went to sleep. I took a nap, got up and said, okay, let me record this video because I don't have Wi-Fi, so it takes forever to load videos for me. So I like to kind of start early in the morning. So that way, maybe by the afternoon, a video will be loaded up. Okay. So understand things that I go through to put content out, guys. Um, I was holding off on this video about the parentified child because this is still something that I'm healing from and adjusting, but I still feel led to do this video. So this video is about a parentified child. Um, I can't believe I didn't do a video like this before. I'm sure I've talked about it in a different format, but never with this title. Okay. Parentified child. I am a parentified child. Of course, I'm an adult now, but the parentified child, right? This child, when they grew up, they got put into a position where they were treated like an adult. They ended up being the parent, and the parent ended up being the child, pretty much. A lot of us raised our parents. A lot of us even, I believe, came onto this planet and we are more mature. Some of us have older souls, and our parents end up being teenagers. Some of our parents had, you know, narcissistic parents, and they were emotionally immature, mentally, immature. And then you came out and you were a little bit more mature than your parents. Sometimes that happened. I do want to note that in order for you to be parentified, your parent does not have to be a narcissist, but this happens most of the time with people who have narcissistic parents. You get neglected, your emotions get neglected, being guided, being taught boundaries, being taught self-love. That is something that you didn't get from your narcissistic parent, okay? And I was raised by a narcissistic stepfather and then a codependent mother, and my biological father, he also, to me, had narcissistic traits because his mother, who he was raised by, was a narcissist. So I want to put that out there. And who I'm talking about, who parentified me, was my mother, right? So I'm going to say from ages 0 to about 11 years old, I wasn't parentified. I am the youngest child. So my biological half brother, right? We have different fathers, same mother, is 12 years older than me, right? So now I'm 41, he's in his 50s. And then I grew up to 11 years old, from a newborn basically to 11 years old. I grew up with a stepsister who's about, I think she's 6 or 7 years older than me, okay? So I am the youngest, and I got left alone a lot, but I got spoiled and treated, like the golden child from the narc stepfather. But a lot of things happened in the household where there was DV situations. I was molested, and a lot of different things happened to me between the ages of 0 to 11, right? So I'm going to tell you what makes you a parentified child. I wrote everything down because there's no way my ADHD brain is going to remember all of this stuff, okay? Okay, so in order to be a parentified child, or you can see if you can relate to this. So your parent treated you like their friend, okay? And this was something that I remember seeing with my childhood best friend, who was a covert narcissist, and her mom was a narcissist. And I remember how her mom used to talk to her like a homegirl, like somebody on the street. And I thought that was very strange because my mom didn't speak to me in that slang tone and stuff. Like she would say to my ex best friend, like, whatever, bitch, or like, whatever, girl. Yeah, like you tripping. Like, how do you talk to your daughter like that? And she ended up having to take care of her twin siblings. Her mother would leave us in the house with newborn babies when we were like 10, 11, 12 years old, like CPS should have been called back then, right? 80s babies went through some stuff. Okay, we technically raised ourselves, the latchkey kids, right? But anyway, so your parents treat you like a friend. That makes you in a situation where you are parentified, or they say adultified child. Um, so your parents end up giving you adult roles in the home. Back then, like, oh, balance this checkbook, okay? You're 5 years old, go take out the garbage. Things that, chores and certain things, it was cool. But when it turned into like slavery, or you getting in trouble, you getting beat, you getting punished for not remembering to do adult tasks, to me, that was adultifying a child. All right. I'm going to keep using parentified and adultified because they go hand in hand. All right. Being treated like an adult or being put into the parent role is basically the same thing. Okay. All right. Um, Things like that. I remember, like, dang, seeing other people growing up, like, why do you have to do all of that? That's strange. Like, I have chores, I have chore days, but it was like having to do your parents' chores and your chores, and you're a child and you forget to do something and you get beat for it, or you get punished for it. I saw this a lot with like my African and my West Indian friends growing up. When I think about it, it was abusive and it was adultifying a child, with all those chores and all those tasks, and having them to remember all those things. That, teaching them how to clean and how to take care of themselves is cool, but them getting in trouble for not remembering certain things and not knowing how to clean it the way they wanted them to clean it, like they should have cleaned it. You get what I'm trying to say? um what else I have here? Oh yes, you had to make adult decisions, right? You weren't guided. You weren't taught self love. You weren't taught boundaries. You did not have a space to be a child, okay? It is not the child's role to raise themselves. It is not the child's role to figure out how to grow up. No, we need to be guided by parents, right? So you get parentified or you get adultified when your parent is not guiding you. They're not teaching you, right? They're not teaching you discipline. They're not teaching you. This is why you see a lot of those narcissists, a lot of people go to jail, because their parents never taught them about authority, respecting the law, respecting your elders, things like that. So a lot of parentified children or adultified children, they didn't get taught these type of things. They kind of just figured it out, and some of them never did figure them out. And a lot of people who got parentified became narcissistic. My grandmother got parentified. Her mom died when she was 12 years old, and there were 10 of them. She had 10 children before she died. She actually died. My great grandmother died through childbirth, during childbirth. And then her father parentified her. I actually think that her father molested her, and made her cook and clean and take on the mother role in that household. And that's how my grandmother became a narcissist, pretty much, and started to abuse people the way her father abused her. Um, oh, you're the oldest. I always hear people talk about the oldest daughter syndrome, right? Or the oldest son syndrome, and how they're automatically parentified. They had to do all the cooking and cleaning for the whole house. They had to be parents to their younger siblings or younger cousins or anyone younger in the household, but they were a child. This doesn't just happen with older kids. I wasn't the oldest kid and I got parentified. I was actually the youngest. And my incompetent older siblings, they got a pass because they were incompetent. They got a pass because they were assholes. But because I actually had skills and I was the loving child, I got forced into responsibility. So a lot of the golden children, or the incompetent children, they get to slip and slide in the household, but you, whether no matter how old you are, because you actually are worth a damn, you got pushed into that parentified role. And that's basically what happened to me. Whenever people, they're like, "Oh, you're the oldest, right?" And I'm like, "No, I'm the youngest." They're like, "Wait, what? How did that happen to you?" Because my siblings were incompetent. Um. Oh, yes, this happens when you're adultified. where your parent literally make you their lover, even though they didn't physically or sexually touch you. You became their husband or wife. You see this a lot, okay? I've even dated men where I saw that they were, it was emotional incest between their mother and themselves, okay? And very creepy to watch. This even happened with my father as well. My father was my grandmother's first child, and she adultified him and made him her husband, even though she had a husband. That's what's crazy. Um, they did business together, and when my father finally met the woman that he wanted to be with, my mother, my grandmother got involved and tried to ruin his relationship, and it worked. It worked. And this parent, she, oh, I hate her. Like, she's not a good wife, and I don't like her, and I can't believe you're marrying her, and your mother's a bitch, and this, and that. It was just like, all because she was losing her husband. So a lot of times, maybe your mother or father died, or your mother or father left, and then your mother made you the husband, okay? Or maybe your mom died and then your father made you the wife, the woman of the house. This is very inappropriate, especially you single mothers. I see this a lot with y'all, okay? Where it's like, you're the man of the house now. You're telling a 5-year-old that he's a man of the house. No, he's not. He's the child of the house. Telling, this happens a lot, like in inner cities, the ghetto, the hood, whatever you want to call it. And it breaks my heart because these guys who are like 5, 12, 15 years old talking about, yeah, I started selling rock on the street. I started, hustling and gang banging and doing all these different things just so I can help my mother pay the rent and feed my kid. They literally were their kids, feed my siblings. That was not their job to do that. And I'm letting you know that if you went through that, where you had to be a father figure and you're 5 or you're 12 or you're 15, it was inappropriate for your mother to put you in that position. You were not her man. You were a child. She should have figured out a way how to hustle up money to pay the rent. It was never your responsibility to do that. You were not a man at 15. You were not a man at 12 or 5. And you definitely were not a man even at 18. Okay? You needed to just grow up and be a child and learn and development, but you had that taken away from you. Same thing with young ladies, like in the movie Jungle Fever, where the Italian woman, she tells uh, the guy that plays Wesley Snipes plays in her lover in the movie, and she's like, oh yeah, I'll stay late at work, and he's like, why do you want to stay late at work? And she's like, because if I stay late at work, I won't have to go home and I won't have to cook. She literally got beat by her father and her brothers for dating a black guy, or even, having, she had to go to work and come straight home and cook for her father and her 2 brothers. Like, it was mandatory. This happens in a lot of cultures where the woman is parentified. She's not the mother. The mom died, okay? She's not there to cook for you. Learn to cook for yourself. So this happens where the child ends up cooking, cleaning. Back in the day, we used to balance checkbooks, doing banking, running errands, going to the grocery store, doing things that a child should not be doing. A child should be outside playing, running, focused on school, right? And even some parentified children had to drop out of school, drop out of elementary school, drop out of junior high, drop out of high school, never got a chance to go to college because they were parentified. They had responsibilities. And that happened to me. We'll get into that later. Um, Let me see what else. So you also get adultified or parentified, and when your parents start talking to you with inappropriate conversations, right? So this happened to me too, where I had to put my mom in check. Like, I don't want to hear about your dates. I'm 13. I don't want to hear about your dates. I don't want to hear about this man giving you money and you kissed him after the date it was just like, girl, you need friends. So constantly, I was telling my mom at 12 and 13. So what happened was at 12, my mother separated from the stepfather. So it was just my mother and I who were living together. Keep in mind, for 12 years, she had been in a narcissistic marriage, right? She was married to a narcissist. It was domestic violence in this marriage as well. So when a narcissist, they'll isolate you from friends and family. So my mother, she had friends and family, but she was very distant from them because the narcissist doesn't want you to be close to your friends, right? So even when she was going through her divorce, she didn't have really a community. She didn't really have a support system. Guess who she leaned on to be her biggest support system? Her 11, 12-year old child. Why are you talking about your divorce with me? Why are you talking about lawyer fees? Why are you talking about certain details about his infidelities with me? Certain things she would hide, but then there were days where, to me, she was just talking about inappropriate things that she should have been talking to her girlfriends about, not to me. And it was very uncomfortable. There was times where she talked about sex when I was like maybe in my late teens, early 20s, and I was like, that's disgusting. I don't want to talk about sex with my mom. Stop. Nasty. Keep it to yourself. If y'all talk about sex with y'all parents, I think that's cool, but for me, it just wasn't appealing to me at all, you know. And it was strange to me because it was like she didn't teach me like how to bathe or teach me about my period, but yet she felt so comfortable to talk to me about like her sex life. Very, very weird, right? To the point you end up feeling like your parent is a teenager. And I remember screaming at my mom many times, going, Mom, like, act like an adult. Like, what's wrong with you? And the truth is, your parents are emotionally immature. They are. Okay. And I didn't remember her doing any of this up until this divorce. Once this divorce happened, that's when I became adultified, parentified. Okay. And no, my mom wasn't a narcissist. She was just emotionally immature and very codependent. All right. Um, let's see what else. Okay, I think I covered everything with different ranges of what happens when you are parentified or adultified, adult, pretty much child in the household. Keep in mind, your parent does not have to be a narcissist to do this. Um, Also, what also happens with people who got parentified, sometimes your parent was mentally ill. Like, I knew this girl, was friends with her, and I had to check her one time because she kept trying to parent me and like try to control what I was doing and what I was buying. And I had to tell her, like, listen, girl, you're not my mama. Stop it. And then she apologized to me. She was like, oh, I'm sorry. My mom is schizophrenic. So since a child, I was always like mothering her, And another thing I noticed about this too, we'll get back to that. But yeah, so sometimes your parent, they were mentally ill, they were a drug addict, um, maybe they were a hustler on the street, maybe they were a prostitute, they had a crazy lifestyle to where you left at home a lot, or you had to help them, you had to nurture them. So that's what happened to me, where my mother, through this divorce, needed an emotional support system, and she leaned on me, and that's how I got parentified. Okay. I also noticed that my mother would ask me to do like masculine tasks in the house, and I feel like that also made me more masculine when I was younger. So she was so used to being married. Keep in mind, my mom got married 4 times in her life, right? She started getting married at 18. So she always was used to having a husband, and most of her husbands were very masculine, can fix cars, can fix things, hustlers, go getters, and providers. So when it was just her and I alone, this was her first time in years being alone with just herself and her child. She would turn to me, and back in the day we had like VCRs, VHS, okay? Cassettes, Google it for the young ones. And like they say the VCR broke, she'd be like, she normally would have asked her husband to fix that VCR, but instead she would turn to me and tell me to fix the VCR, and it was just certain things that I learned through the years to fix, because She wouldn't call another man over to fix it. She couldn't call my brother to come fix it because he wasn't worth a damn. He wouldn't do anything for her. So she would literally turn to me for these tasks that you would normally probably go to a man to fix or a handyman to do. And it's something that I would learn. So that's it turned out to be a good thing in the end because now that I'm single, I'm not married, no children, no man, I can fix pretty much anything. I even laid the tile in my hallway by myself, went to Home Depot, remodeled my whole floor by myself. Like, I can fix a lot. I probably can build a house by myself, okay, with no man. All right. But anyway, so these are just a few things that will link you to being a parentified child. Some of you don't even realize, oh shoot, I didn't realize I was parentified or I was adultified. You knew that something wasn't right. I always knew that something wasn't right, okay? And how I knew it was like my siblings, my friends weren't doing things that I had to do. It was like, oh, you don't do that? And they're like, no. Wait, your mom said you can't go? My mom says I can go. So the exchange for being parentified, my mother always said yes, right? So it was like that was the exchange. So the exchange was she's there me, meaning me, she's there for me emotionally, right? She's my best friend. She's my everything, right? I need her. She's my emotional support dog, so to say. So I'm going to give my daughter anything that she wants, right? So if I wanted to go somewhere, my mother said yes. She barely ever said no to anything. And there was days that I kind of wanted my mother to mother. I wanted her to say no. I wanted her to parent me, and she didn't. You know, there were places where my friends were like, dang, your mom said, yes, you can go. And I'm like, yeah. Or I didn't even have to ask her. I would just straight up go and then call her when I got there and be like, oh, I'm at so and so's house, or I'm over here doing this. Like, there was times where I didn't even have to ask her to go places. Also, at 12 years old, when after the divorce between stepfather and my mom, I started going to church alone. This was pretty major. Okay, so I was a 12-year-old girl going to church by myself with all my other friends that I grew up with, all their parents, their siblings, their aunts, their uncles, their grandparents were all in church. And I remember like them having like family day and family games and socials and stuff. And everybody having their family to like play games with and do certain things and represent their family. And I was by myself. Now, why this wasn't a good thing for me was because I didn't listen to any adults in the church. I remember like a couple of adults trying to check me or like trying to tell me something. And I'm like, my mother don't even tell me what to do. So you're not about to tell me what to do. And they're like, whoa, what the hell, Ange? What's going on with you? So yes, 12, 13 years old. And I wasn't really doing anything. It was just they wanted me to do something. It wasn't like I was being bad, but it was like maybe they wanted me to like leave the room or don't do this or go get this for them. And I told them, no, like I'm not doing that. You know, there might have been something they wanted the kids to do. And I was just like, I'm not doing it. Or like they wanted us to do something. And I was like, I'm not going. I ain't doing it. And honestly, they really couldn't force me because I did not have any adult supervision. I'm 12, 13 years old, going to church alone with no adult supervision. So that wasn't good. I was not being guided when I really needed to be respecting these adults. They weren't doing it to harm me, they were doing it to guide me. I also had a problem with authority at some points where it was just like, I make my own decisions. You're not about to guide me and tell me what to do. So there was times where I would check adults like, no, gotta go, going home, goodbye, not doing it. So I didn't respect authority. That's not a good thing. And this is what happens sometimes, and why I think parentified or adultified children, why they end up being narcissists, because they weren't taught that you are supposed to respect authority. You are supposed to be a certain way in society. You should have respect for your elders, and you should listen at certain moments because you do not know better. You are a child. You need to be taught respect. You need to be taught boundaries, okay? Let's see what else. Oh yes. So my story is that I got parentified at 12 after my stepfather and mother got divorced, right? So between 12 and 15, 12, 13, 14, 15, that's 4 or 3.5 years of me running around making adult decisions, being left at home alone sometimes. um, I started to become rebellious. So this happens too with parentified, adultified children. They start feeling themselves. They think they really grown. Okay, these parentified, adultified children really do start to think they grown. So in my head, I thought I was grown. So I started to talk down on my mother. I started to lose respect for her. So there was times where she wanted to slap me in my face or punch me because I was disrespecting her. I'm going to admit it. I started to disrespect her because it's like, you're putting me in this adult role. You're making me make these adult decisions. You're making me do things alone while everybody has their parents. So I'm going to talk to you like an adult. So yes, that happens too, where the parentified child starts to rebel. They also rebel because they just want to be a kid. I just wanted to be a kid. I just wanted to be guided. Okay. So yes, there was a couple of years. It was the mixture between hormones of growing up as a teenage girl, and then also feeling like I was losing respect for my mother because she wasn't being a parent. She was trying to be a friend, basically. Um, so 12 to 15 was the divorce years of me um, being this adult and being this emotional support system. Now, here's what happened at 15. My mother got diagnosed with breast cancer. That's when the parentified adultification really turned up a notch. Not even a notch, 100 notches. Now my whole life is flipped upside down. Okay. So now I'm 15. My mother gets diagnosed with cancer. She cannot work. Okay. So that means if she can't work, at the time we were living off my child support check, right? So that means that sometimes she couldn't buy me clothes, she couldn't buy me sneakers. Thank God I was born with a gift of doing hair. So I started getting paid to do hair at 15. And that's how I would buy like school clothes or go to the movies, go to the mall, buy nice things that I liked, things like that. Um, we sacrificed a lot. There was nights that my mother and I ate sandwiches and ramen noodles and different things like that. So also what happens with the parentified child or deltified child, y'all go through so much trauma with that parent, it's almost like it bonds y'all together. So it made the bond between my mother and I even stronger, and it made me felt like I was responsible to emotionally take care of her and physically take care of her and also physically take care of myself when that really wasn't my duty. Okay, so high school for me was horrible. I was a horrible student because why? What happened, what also comes with being parentified is chronic depression, emotional eating, unaliving yourself thoughts. um you feel out of place. You're watching people around you and their life is flourishing. And it seems like the parentified child literally feels like their life is going in slow motion, right? Because they're being held back. They don't have regular kid experiences sometimes, Yeah, I went to the mall. I roller skated. I went bowling. I wore name brand clothes, but there were certain things that I didn't get to do or didn't experience because there was days I was just home taking care of my sick mother, right? Her hair falling out, her throwing up, her kicking and screaming and crying, me comforting her. And I'm a teenager. I'm supposed to be focused on my studies. So my grades declined. I couldn't sleep. I was emotional eating. I was just in deep, deep depression. I would take long walks to get back home because I didn't want to go home to see my dying mother, right? Also what happened was I started to miss hundreds of days of school. And that's when my guidance counselor called my mother and I up to the school because you have to report this. So I was going to chemotherapy with my mother and to her radiation treatments. She had her breasts taken off, surgeries, nursing homes, you name it. I was there during all of this. Now, she had a couple of boyfriends in between this, but she pushed all of them away. They wanted to stay, but she did not want these men around watching her die of cancer, so to say. So every time she did get a boyfriend, she pushed them away and they broke up. And I was left to take the fall, or basically to take the responsibility of what needed to be done with my sick mother. Um, while also going through some financial hardships because she couldn't work, right? Um, and me feeling like, dang, now I gotta work. I never really had to give her money or anything like that. And if I did, it was like, oh, here, mom, go get your nails done, or go get a pedicure, or I'll do your hair for you. Um, at one point she didn't have any hair. We had to shave all her hair off. But having to be a child and you're like, okay, let me see, how am I going to go to this church event? How am I going to go to this church banquet? How am I going to go to this event for school? How am I going to pay for this? How am I going to pay for that? When you're a child, you shouldn't have to figure out where your next meal is coming from, where your school clothes are going to come from, how you're going to pay for your extracurricular activities. And that was something I had to do. Take care of a parent, be there for her emotionally and physically. And on top of that, do my schoolwork. And on top of that, still find a way to make money. So I started doing hair, and I also started babysitting and sometimes sleeping over people's house to babysit in order to get money. That's a fucking lot for a teenager. That's a lot. That's not normal. So if you went through that, that's not normal. It's not. And a lot of people make it seem like it's normal, even culturally, but it's not, right? And this is why a lot of people lack certain skills in relationships, because they were not built in their adolescence, right? Okay. The side effects of everything that I went through. What were the side effects? I didn't listen to adults. I already went through that. I had issues with authority. Because my mother didn't say no to me, there were times that I would, talk down to her. I had lots of freedom. My friends' parents seemed to care more. That's how I felt, right? Um, I got used in friendship. So this is a huge thing of why being parentified fucks you up. Okay, let's keep it real. So because you are parentified or adultified when you were growing up, excuse me, let me take a sip of water. Because of that, you kind of build your identity around being useful. So having to be this savior and this emotional um support system for my mother, it made me think that was my worth. Oh, I'm good enough to um support somebody when they're going through something. So what happened was I started to attract narcissistic children. I started to attract people who just wanted to stay on the phone with me for hours and talk to me all night and vent to me and emotionally dump on me. I started to have limerence. So a lot of parentified children, you have limerence. So you start liking men or boys or girls who don't even like you, right? You don't know social cues because you didn't really have that time to kind of develop that with your friends. And a lot of times you were around adults so many times, you didn't have time to train and interact with people your age at times, okay? So that was something that happened to me. I used to have limerence so bad. I always liked boys who did not like me. It was terrible, okay? Embarrassing. Um, um, what else happens? Oh yeah, so you end up having shitty friends because you wrap your whole identity around helping people and fixing people, and this even pours into your romantic relationships. where you could have had healthy relationships. There were people who were healthy, who did like you, who wanted to date you, but you didn't want to date them because you wanted a fixer person that felt more comfortable for you. You wanted someone that maybe you felt for people who were sick. Maybe you felt for people who were mentally ill. And I'm going to keep it real. This is the type of people that I normally attracted. I know someone got insulted the other day when I said I attract autistic people. There's not that there's anything wrong with autistic people, but sometimes it could be a handful being friends with some people who aren't high functioning autistic. So I noticed that I will always attract autistic lovers or autistic friends, which was a lot for me, and them being very dependent and codependent on me. That can be very exhausting. Schizophrenic, bipolar, narcissistic, people dealing with their sexuality. Like, I just kept attracting people that needed therapy, healing, fixing. And years and years of that, of always even being parentified in your romantic relationships and in your friendships, you really fall into deep depression. Okay, now let's go back to my teens. So 15, my mom gets diagnosed with breast cancer, and I'm messing up in school, of course, duh, who wouldn't? I'm messing up in school. So by the time was approaching my senior year, I had 10th grade classes that I had to redo, 11th grade classes that I had to redo as well. And they wanted to hold me back. So at this time, my mom's cancer was kind of in remission. And I made an adult decision. My mom didn't make this decision. This is what's crazy, right? So when you got put into making adult decisions, you're able to kind of make a lot of decisions later on in life, okay? Where a lot of people, maybe your peers, wouldn't be able to quickly strategize, or so to say. Yes, your survival skills are a little bit higher than your peers. There you go. So even though I wasn't per, per even though I wasn't raised the way I should have been raised, my survival skills were higher due to me being an adult sooner in life. Get it? Okay. So I told my mother, here's what we're going to do. You're going to sign me out of school, and I'm going to go to Job Corps in Albany, New York. I live in Queens, New York. And I'm going to go there and I'm going to finish out my senior year. And that's what I did. And plus, my mom and we lost our apartment because she couldn't pay the rent, being that she was sick. So at the time, my mom and I were living in one room. We were renting a room in someone's house. And I said, I'm going to go to Albany. I'm going to finish out my year. I'm going to graduate in 2001. And that's what I did. So she signed me out of school. I went to Job Corps in Albany, Glenmont. If anyone ever comes across this video, I hope everybody from the class of 2001 in Glenmont, Albany, I hope y'all are doing well. I hope y'all are all alive and well. And yeah, so I finished out that year, and I also worked the whole 9 months when I was there. And my mother felt some kind of way about that. She felt embarrassed. She couldn't believe that her 16-year-old daughter, 16, 17-year-old daughter made that decision, and it worked. It worked, guys. I finished, got my diploma, had money by the time I got home. I turned 18 that summer, and I went into beauty school. And by the time I got home, my mom had a job and she had a new apartment, and I had my own space, and I was able to move back in with my mother. And I just thank God that even though I was parentified, that it kind of helped me out in order to make an adult decision at such a young age, right? So not all is bad from this. You end up sometimes being the more mature one in your relationships and in your friendships. I need to hurry up because I can't have this video over an hour. Okay. Another side effect is feeling guilty for wanting a normal childhood. I went through this, and this is something that the parentified child goes through, because your parents, narcissistic parents especially, they'll guilt trip you. And there were times that my mother would guilt trip me in order to get her emotional needs met. Mm-mm-mm. So let me give you a heart. I will never forget this. This is probably one of the most disgusting things my mother ever did. So I was 13 years old, and my mom won some tickets for the Nutcracker, right? The Nutcracker at Radio City Music Hall here in New York City. So she came to me and she said, "Oh, I have two tickets to see the Nutcracker. And do you want me and you to go, or do you want to take one of your friends?" I was like, I'm a kid. When you're a kid, you want to be with your friends. You don't want to hang out with your parents. And I think that's a good thing. I'm sorry, mom. I'm sorry, dad. I'm not a parent yet. But yes, it is a good thing that your kids want to hang out with other children their age. All right. They don't want to hang out with mommy and daddy. They want to hang out with people their age where they can talk about the things that they like. The type of hanging out you do with your friends and the type of hanging out you do with your parents are different. When they get older, then y'all can hang out more. But allow them to hang out with peers. Trust me, I'm telling you. So I told my mom, I was like, oh, I want to bring my friend, let's just call her Olive. I want to bring my friend Olive. And she was like, okay, no problem. So she took me and Olive to the Nutcracker, and I had a great time with Olive. My mom waited around in Manhattan for us after the show was over. She even took us out to eat after the show, and then she made sure that Olive got home safely, right? Later on that night, my mother says to me, I can't believe you picked Olive over me. And I'm like, wait, what? What are you talking about? And this is something that this particular parent will do to their child. They want the child that they parentify to always pick them. Okay? They're not allowed to have their own life outside of this parent who's trying to parentify them or adultify them. And even as a child at 13, I was just like, that is so wicked. Why would she say that? And I said to her, well, if you wanted to go, you should have never gave me the option. Why would you give me the option to take my friend and then turn around and tell me I'm wrong for picking my friend? Huh? Why would I want to watch Nutcracker with you, mom? It's for kids, right? Oh my God. If you do that to your kids, you're fucking wicked. Do not do that. Allow your children to interact with people their age, right? And a lot of narcissistic parents will do that. So these parents will try to put guilt on you in order to kind of control you because they need you emotionally and physically. And when they start to see you're making connections outside of them, they get nervous. They get scared. Oh no, I don't want to be by myself. I'm not going to have nobody to emotionally help me. I'm not going to have nobody to go meet to doctor's appointment. I'm not going to have anybody to do this. I'm not going to have anybody in the house so that when I die, they're going to be here. That is what that parent is going through. So this is why a lot of times those parents don't even want their children to move out the house. Why was my father in his 30s and 40s sleeping in my grandmother's basement? Huh? And they'll do that. They'll stunt your growth. They'll even stunt relationships that you're having with people because they want to be able to keep that child there all the time. Now, from the outside looking in, it looks like y'all are just the best of friends. Y'all are so close, but they don't realize what's really going on. It's psychological warfare that's really going on because this parent really needs this dependable child. And that's also what happened to me and why my only blood sibling hated me, because he didn't realize I was being used emotionally. I was being used physically because he was incompetent. He did not want to help our mother with anything. He didn't go to any of her doctor's appointments, no hospital visits, none of her radiation treatments, none of her chemo treatments. He didn't help her with anything, not even fucking financially. So he's thinking we're so close. Angelique is close to mommy because she loves him. She loves her more. No, she needed me because she couldn't fucking depend on both of her children. So how she would reward me was, with hugs and kisses and buying me things if she could and giving me lavish birthday parties or talking highly of me to other people. My mother would cook for me, clean for me. I remember right before my mom, maybe a week or two before my mom died, my mother was ironing my clothes. And people never understood that. And, even she said, because no one's ever been there for me like my daughter. No man, no son, no father, no mother. Everything that Angelique has done for me, I would give her anything. So, it is a beautiful toxic situation sometimes, okay? That's how I can call it. Still consider my mother one of my best friends, but there was a lot of toxicity with her needing me emotionally, right? Did it get better? It did get better. It got better once she got into a relationship. It got better once she went back to church. It got better once she worked on her relationship with God. It got better when she started to heal. It got better when she started reading self-help books. So I got a chance to see my mother do a lot of healing work before she died at 56 years old. Um, and I was very, very proud of her. She wasn't fully healed, but I got to see my mother doing a lot of healing work. She even went to a professional therapist. So once she started doing a lot of healing work, she eased off of me. Okay. Um, let's see what else. Side effects. What else? Feeling responsible, like you have to plan everything. That happens also, where you don't like to rest. And I can imagine a lot of parentified women can be very masculine and or come off masculine or in their masculine energy, and they're not able to rest in their femininity because they're always being the parent. They're always used to planning. They're always used to having to do everything. And that happened to me as well, where there was a time where I was very masculine because I always had to take care of everything. Who you think wrote out the checks for the bills? Me. Who you think had to talk to the landlord? Me. Who do you think had to go grocery shopping? Me. Who do you think had to sign medical forms? Me. I had to do all of that. Even when my mother got married, I had to do that because a man couldn't even fucking read. That's another story. So when you are that child that handles everything, even legally, you're going to come off boss like. You're going to come off bossy. I've been called bossy so many times. You're good. People are intimidated by my energy. Oh my gosh, you're so intimidating. Managers are intimidated by my energy, but it's because I've been in a boss position since I was a child. I had authoritative energy since I was a child. I'm going to come off like that because I have the experience. Okay. A lot of times when you're a parentified child or adultified child, you think you know everything. You don't know everything. You think you know everything, but you are a child. You think you know everything because you're acting like an adult. You're cosplaying an adult. You're not an adult. There are certain things that you did not go through yet as an adult. And this is why I think a lot of parentified, adultified people um, get into abusive relationships because they did not get the warning. They didn't get the red flags. They didn't learn certain things as a child. So when they get older, they have a horrible judge of character. That happens as well. A lot of times also, parentified children become very successful, right? It's either you become very successful because you have that go-getting energy in you, that boss-like energy in you, that authoritative energy in you. But then there's some of us, like myself, that battled and struggled. You know, my whole identity was wrapped around taking care of someone. So I didn't focus on my studies. I didn't focus on college. I didn't focus on high school. I didn't focus on my talents and goals. I did not know who I was really. My whole identity was wrapped around taking care of someone. So by the time I hit 23 and my mom died, I felt kind of lost. I was like, whoa, this is different. I have a little bit more freedom. But then what happened was I ended up moving in with my narcissistic grandmother, and then she started using me and adultifying me. And I even end up having to take care of her until she died, of cancer. So the parentified, adultified child is almost like their whole life they end up in these type of dynamics where they're always having to take care of someone, right? Um, so a lot of us feel like we're behind. Like I remember when high school was over, a lot of my friends were going away to college. This kind of triggered me the other night. I was talking to a friend and we were talking about identity, black identity, right? And she was like, "Oh, you would have had a better experience with black people if you would have went to college." This is a new friend, so she doesn't know my life story yet, and it triggered me. I wanted to scream out. I couldn't go to college. I was home taking care of a sick parent, and that was the real one of the real reasons why I didn't go away to school. My mother could not pay for a university for me where all my friends went to Christian universities and MIT and Stanford and NYU and Atlantic Union College and Andrews University. I wanted to go to one of those schools and I couldn't. One, I didn't have the credit. Two, I didn't have the money. I had a sick parent and I had to stay home to take care of her. And that triggered me the other night when she said that, and I'm still healing from this. But that wasn't my opportunity. A lot of parentified children, they did not have the opportunity to finish school, to finish college, to get their dream job. Their life got paused while they were busy taking care of people. Don't take it personally. It was just my trigger. It's not her fault. She doesn't know me. We just met, and I haven't told her my whole life story, so sometimes it's good for people to say things so that way, your triggers and you know what you need to work on, right? Let's see. All right, let's see. Yes, I was attracted to men that I had to fix, feeling left out. Um, yes, I used to call my friends in college and I used to cry and miss them all the time and stuff. I felt really left out. They got a chance to have an experience that I couldn't experience, I'm very happy for them. But when you're a kid, it's a horrible transition to go through when you're like 17, 18 years old and you're literally watching your friends being able to do just normal things and you can't do them. Oh yes, you can also become a chronic liar because you trying to hide what's actually going on in your home. So I noticed that I would lie about certain things because I didn't want people to know that the roles were reversed at home. Um, what else? Yeah, I think I covered everything. Yep, siblings being jealous of you, never having anyone to take the load off of you. Now, what happened? How did I heal? I healed. So the first time I started healing from this was when I was 21. My mother, she got married. So I said, I can make my escape now. So I ended up buying a one-way ticket to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I had a friend in Florida and she said I can come move with her. I only had to pay like $250 a month for rent. Like, I'm telling you, man, God looked out for me. Her job ended up hiring me. Then I ended up doing hair. So I was making money, and I stayed in Florida for almost a year before my mom called me to let me know, like, she's going to die. Basically, she only had a couple of months left. And that was the reason why I came back to New York. That was healing. I healed so much in those 9, 10 months of living in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, waking up and seeing palm trees, hearing birds, looking out and seeing a pond outside my window, being in sun, losing weight, eating better, working out, going to party in Miami every other weekend, enjoying life, being a kid. 21 is young, enjoying my life, how I'm supposed to. And I had also in my 20s had ended up dealing with a narcissist, who was draining me too. Having this abusive man in my life, and then having a dying mother took a toll on me. I wanted to die, guys. I asked God to kill me, at 20 years old. Kill me. I don't want to be here anymore. But I took that chance and I got the hell out of there. Another thing I did start my healing journey is I stopped mothering friends and lovers. Even to this day, people try me. Okay, people, it's not just because I'm big that people think I am motherly, but people can feel your energy. And most of the friends that used to look to me to be a mother to them, I've cut them off. Okay. So yes, that's another way that you can stop this parentified energy in you. Stop mothering people. Stop getting in relationships with people who they weren't raised. That's not your job to raise grown people. It's their job to go to therapy and to heal their own shit while you heal your shit. Okay. If I sense that a man has a horrible relationship with his mother, to me, he's looking for a mom. I'm not gonna mother him. I'm not gonna date him. Okay. And not by now I have discernment and I can sniff a guy that has mommy issues. So I don't date men who have mommy issues anymore. I don't put myself in a parentified situation with friends and with men that I date. I do nice things for myself. I am selfish. So you have to do this, all right? You might come off narcissistic to people, but you have to make a big deal about your birthday. You have to go to the spa. You have to plan trips. You have to buy yourself nice things. Do things that you were not able to do when you were a child, or things you probably wouldn't do normally because you normally don't put yourself first. Put yourself first and learn to say no. That's another thing. Another form of that happens with parentified people is that you always get asked by friends and family to do something. It may not be emotional labor, but it's like, hey, can you come? I had this one friend, like, they treat you like a slave, right? So you become a horrible people pleaser when you are a parentified child. So with this particular friend, she treated me like a slave. It was like, oh, can you come help me decorate at my kid's birthday party? Can you help me cook, or can you help me do this? Can you babysit my kid? Can you? It's just like you always asking for something, girl. Damn. So say no. That's how I learned to start healing, is when I started saying no and I started treating myself the way I had always wanted to be treated, pretty much. You can even start buying things that you wanted when you were a kid. A lot of times I go and I do things that I always wanted to do, or I'll buy something that I wanted when I was younger but couldn't get. That is also very nostalgic and healing as well. Put your goals and priorities first. So a lot of you, it didn't make you a go-getter. It made you like not really focus, like, what do I want to be when I grow up? Okay. So I remember when one of my mother's boyfriends asked me, when you turn 18, what are you going to do? I told him I'm going to move out. That was my goal. My goal was to move out because I felt so smothered. And she was so embarrassed. Like, why would you say that? And I was just like looking at her like, why not? And he was like, no, you're going to go to college and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. You're going to be successful. That did not happen. Okay. I still ended up being a parentified adult, pretty much. Right. So what happens is that you don't have time to focus on your goals or what you might want to be when you get older. And sad to say, you could be 20, you could be 30, you could be 40, you could be 50, and you still don't know who you want to be when you grow up. So focus on your goals. Find a hobby, find out what you like. Okay, it's never too late. You're never too old to figure out what you want to do for living. Okay, you can do multiple things for living. I've done multiple things for living, and you can too. All right. Um, let's see. Another thing is like realizing and telling yourself what happened wasn't right. So this was something that I had to tell myself. My childhood was not normal. My mother was wrong. that was not correct. I was supposed to be mothered. I was supposed to be nurtured. I was supposed to be raised. I was supposed to be treated like a child. Once you get that through your head, like none of this happened, it wasn't your fault. Um, Accepting that and understanding also why your parent did it. I understand why my parent did it. I'm not mad at her. So I had to forgive my mother because she had shitty narcissistic parents herself, and I had to heal. I had to forgive my mom. I had to forgive myself for being mean to her at times because I just didn't like the dynamic. It was stressful and draining. So forgive your parent, forgive yourself, and understand that. I understand if you have a narcissistic parent, it's kind of hard for you to forgive them. If you can't forgive them, forgive yourself, okay? For blaming yourself. It was not your fault. You were a child. You were a teenager, or even if you were 21, you were still too young. You That wasn't your place to do any of that shit, okay? Um Take care of yourself. Make doctor's appointments for yourself. Eat well. You know, make your environment nice. So sometimes, because you grew up cooking and cleaning so much, you abandon your own apartment, your own home. Okay, I know I've done it before too. It's almost like a rebellion. Man, I did all that cooking and cleaning growing up. I'm gonna leave my house a mess. Don't do that. Clean your damn house. Clean up yourself. Check your hygiene. Go to the doctor. Get checkups. Put yourself first and your health first and your home first and your environment first, and pour into yourself. Do not pour into others, right? But don't turn into a narcissist now. But learn to pour into yourself. What else? Yes, realize that your childhood was stolen. It was. It was stolen. You are not your parents' homegirl or homeboy. You are not your parents' husband or wife or anything like that. That wasn't normal, right? And now you're trying to get at least to somewhat normal. But understand, there is some good that came out of this. I love how responsible I am. I like being a dependable person. I think it makes me a great lover. And I think I actually would be a great mom. I don't know if I'm going to end up having any children, but I think I would be an excellent mom because of this. I'm organized, I'm dependable, I'm loyal, just responsible. I'm a good spokesperson, I'm trustworthy, and I'm kind of grateful for the negative and positive that happened to me. But now I've learned that my identity is not wrapped in taking care of people. Yours is not either. And you got to be very careful with that and understand that that's not your job. And as soon as I see friends or lovers trying that with me, they gotta go. I will address them. If they don't change their behavior, then they're just not someone that I want in my life. All right, this video is at a little bit over an hour. Thank you for watching this video. I know it was long. Tell me your story in the comment sections, and I hope you start your healing journey, or tell me, how did you heal? How are you feeling? How are you doing? How does it impact you? I'm going to do another video about how being a parentified child or deltafied child, sometimes you end up chronically single and no kids. All right, that will be the second video, or I might do a TikTok video and place it on here. But yeah, I want to talk about that. Why have I been chronically single? Chronically single sounds like a disease. It sounds so silly, but that's just a term. Why a lot of parentified people end up single. I'll talk about that in the next video. Another thing, guys, this is my only job currently right now. I have not started a new job yet. Please, I need y'all to please get those donations in. This is how I survive. This is how I live, okay? If you can bless me, donate to the channel. Also, you can book a phone session with me. You want to talk about something like this? Chosen one journey, spiritual journey, narcissism, relationships, zodiacs, anything you want to talk about, you can book a phone session with me. It's $20 for 30 minutes and $40 for 1 hour. Thank you. God bless, and have an amazing Scorpio season. Okay, we're going into November, so I hope November will be a better month, because October, Libra season was crazy. Okay. All right. I'll talk to you soon, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video.